Well, I am super excited because my package showed up in the mail today. Thank you, Mr. Postman. Let's take a look. All right, so the tweed case was inside the box. All right, the case looks pretty awesome. Let's give you a little close-up all the way around it. So you can see there's some feet on the edges. You've got metal protectors on the vinyl edges there. Total of 3 latches, one at the end, a locking latch next to the handle, another latch at the other end. All right, inside the case, you can see the components are wrapped in a little bit of foam or whatever that packing material is. You can see some wood shavings inside the case. Okay, unlike the picture in the eBay ad, the plush is black, not red. I'm totally okay with that. And shocker of shockers, if you can read that, made in China, of course. So now let's take a look at the components and I'll tell you a little more. So my eBay ordered double neck guitar kit showed up yesterday, and I started doing a dry fit and discovered a few little issues. And I thought I would identify everything that comes in this kit and kind of identify things that are different from kit to kit, things that you shouldn't exactly count on when you order something like this from eBay. Understand that most of the eBay sellers are buying bulk quantities of product from various manufacturers, typically in China for these kinds of guitars. And their descriptions may or may not be 100% accurate. My guess is the manufacturers change products as needed, as available, whatever. So let's go ahead and take a look at this kit. I'm super excited. I got to say that. I'll point out some of the things that you should expect when you get a kit like this. And then I'll talk a little bit about what I'm planning to do for this build and the next set of videos that you can expect to see me posting up here. So first things first. The case is cut out nicely to fit the guitar. It includes 2 neck cutouts for the neck. You can see how much storage there is in the center compartment. The humbucking pickups are generic, and I'll talk more about them later. The fretboard was very dry, so I conditioned it. You can see the conditioned on the left versus the unconditioned. And here they are with both fretboards looking well conditioned. The volume and tone controls are very cool with the see-through effect. And the nut slots I'll be talking about shortly. You can see that a lot of sanding needs to go on. The tuning pegs only came with 1 screw each. The body had some routing issues. There's some burn marks along here. The back cover plate fits perfectly. But oddly, one of the holes, you can't put a screw in because they routed out this part of the cavity too close to where that screw hole goes. So I'll have to figure out some way to cover that up. So I'm sort of the standard home hobbyist kind of guy. I have a standard set of tools, that came in a kit. I don't have a lot of expensive equipment, woodworking equipment or otherwise. So I'm going to assume that if you're planning on doing something like this, you have access to normal tools and nothing out of the ordinary. One of the things you definitely want to get is a nice, long, straight edge. This happens to be a level. You can see it came from Craftsman. This is super useful.
So I'll show you some of the things that I've been using that for, but one of the first things is just looking at the neck, eyeballing it, and seeing if the neck is level or whether you need to do any truss rod adjustments. So one of the first things that I did is I took the necks out, and I'll superimpose some pictures so you can see they were very dry. The rosewood was super dry and almost a gray color instead of the dark, nice color. So I put Fretboard Conditioner. I happen to use Dunlop brand. You can use whatever you choose. But I did basically oil these, and the way I did it is I would put a little bit of oil, the fretboard conditioner, on the rosewood, and then I would just rub it in with my finger. I did that over a 2-day period. I did it twice, and this soaked it in, and now it looks really good. So the good news is the fret ends are polished pretty nicely. I'm probably going to have to do a little bit of fret leveling a little bit later, and I'll include a video on how to do that. But I'm pretty pleased. So when I initially laid my straight edge across the neck, and both of the necks had a fairly significant bowing. There was too much relief is the technical term for that. So what I did was, you can see there's a truss rod inside each of these, standard location right up here on the neck. I took the included Allen wrench and put it in there, and put it in there. And then to tighten the truss rod and essentially eliminate that bow and get the neck nice and straight, I turned this a 1/4 of a turn clockwise. On one of the necks, the truss rod basically was super loose, and I had to turn it 3/4 of a turn before I could actually feel it dig in and starting to pull the wood. You don't want to do it more than about a 1/4 of a turn at a time, because you need the wood to adjust to that. So over a 2-day period, a 1/4 of a turn, next day still too much relief, a 1/4 of a turn, and after 2 1/4 turns over a 2-day period, I've got a neck that's nice and straight. So after I put the strings on, I'll be able to test it much more accurately and find out if I have any high frets that need to be adjusted or any other issues like that. So a couple of other things about this. A little bit later, when I talk about setting up the neck, we're going to address the nut. It is a plastic nut. I don't have a problem with that. I've taken guitars and mandolins, and I've replaced plastic nuts with bone nuts, and honestly, I can't tell the difference in the tone, and I've got a pretty decent ear for music. So I don't have a problem with plastic nuts, but there is a way that you need to set these up to get the best intonation possible, and I'm going to talk about that. One of the other interesting things, the kit instructions referenced the steel plates that you use to bolt on the neck. And if you're familiar with most mass-produced electric guitars these days, Strat copies, things like that, they all use bolt-on necks as opposed to what is called a set neck, where the neck is actually glued into place. There are a number of minor manufacturing issues with this kit. When I contacted the seller, I said, how come the kit instructions reference how to put on the bolt-on necks, but there's no hardware for the bolt-on. And the seller told me, well, this kit is designed to be a set neck. You have to glue the neck in. Well, my experience with inexpensive guitars is that a bolt-on neck is a good thing, because if you need to shim the neck at all, it's very easy to remove the neck, put some shims in, and screw it back into place. And I like that flexibility. So I went ahead and ordered a pair of bolt-on kits. So the steel plate, the plastic mounting plate, and the 4 long screws that come with it. So I am going to end up making this a bolt-on kit, which frankly, most of the ones that you see on eBay, these kits, they are bolt-on necks, and they should be bolt-on necks. I'm going to talk in a minute about some of the quality issues that I found, but there's absolutely no way that I would trust a kit of this caliber to be accurately made so that I could just glue the neck in. And on top of that, I don't have all of the wood clamps and things like that, and I'm not going to go out and spend $100 on clamps for this one project. So bolt-on neck it is. Okay, it is super important to do a dry fit assembly of all the components. One, you'll find out if any are missing, and indeed I found some minor things that were missing. And two, you'll find out if there are any manufacturing issues. For example, as I put the pickups in, I found that there were areas where the cutouts, the route outs, were done fairly sloppily, and there wasn't even room to put the screws in. So I used some plastic wood to fill that area. I also found an area where the route was too much to one side, and I had to expand it on a different side. Then an interesting thing, you can see these holes that are cut out for the wiring to go through from the pickups into the center chamber. There is supposed to be a matching set of holes on this side, and there isn't. So there's no way for the wiring to get from the left-hand side or the double neck side of the guitar through to where all the controls are going to be. So that's an issue. I'm going to have to drill that out. So definitely quality control issues there. If I flip the guitar body over, in the back cavity, again, the cutout was such that you couldn't screw in the cover plate. You can see where I've added plastic wood there. So the plastic wood, I needed to fill that out a little bit so that I could actually put the screw in and so the cover plate would look right. So you can see on this portion of the guitar, this is where those bolt-on plates are going to be going. But as I mentioned, I am going to not do a set neck or a glued-in neck. I'm going to actually have bolt-on necks, and that's going to make it much easier for painting the guitar, as you'll see later on in the video, as well as painting the headstocks. Another big decision that I made, I'm going to be painting the top of the headstocks so they look pretty, but then the necks, I'm going to finish the necks with True Oil. So I've been reading up on the right way to do that, and again, I'll show you that part of the video. You'll probably want to have a multimeter handy. This is one I got a couple of years ago from Harbor Freight. There's no Harbor Freight here in Maui for me to go to, but when we lived outside of Seattle, I used to love going to Harbor Freight, and you buy almost anything, and there's almost always a coupon for one of these multimeters for free. So I have several of them lying around in various places. Anyhow, I used this to check out the Humbucking Pickups. So the pickups are generic, no-name pickups. They're stamped on the back. One says CF52, one says CF50, and I got a pair. So there are two that say CF50, two that say CF52. The CF50s are, that means that there's apparently a 50 millimeter spacing between these poles on the pickup. And then they're designed to be close to the neck. So these are the neck pickups. And there's also slightly smaller, that black ring is slightly smaller than the bridge pickups. So the bridge pickups are CF52s. Again, the pickups are coming out as a 2 wires. So this red wire has a central wire, and then it's surrounded by the ground wire. I'm probably, or at least I'm thinking at this point in time, about converting at least 2 of the pickups to 4 wire so that I can do a split coil. Not positive I'm going to do it, but I think it would be an interesting thing to do. So I tested these pickups using the multimeter. I guess I can put this down now. And the 2 neck pickups varied pretty dramatically in terms of their ohms, the resistance. The one neck pickup is 12.05 ohms. The other one clocked in at 12.36. And then the bridge pickups, one came in at 12.26 and the other one came in at 12.20. So I guess in general, these are right around 12 ohms, which is fairly hot for humbucking pickups. It's certainly in the middle of the range as you look at pickups. But these are obviously very inexpensive Chinese manufactured pickups. But that's the output that you can expect. The three-way switches all seem to be decent quality. They have a good tactile feel, so I'm not going to be replacing those. I think I mentioned that I did get upgraded volume and tone pots. So if you don't know, tone pots are just volume pots that have a resistor wired in. And I've ordered a pair of orange cap resistors because those are better quality than the ones that shipped with. So anyhow, that's it for the humbuckers.
Now it's time to address those missing holes in the body. So I got my drill out, and here we go.
Another handy tool to have is a Dremel tool. I'm using this to speed up the sanding down of the plastic wood that I've had to fill in a couple of places. And there's some other things like that. So anyhow, a Dremel tool, very handy. I will say, much as I enjoy buying from Harbor Freight, the drill, battery-operated drill that I bought at Harbor Freight, the drill itself is great. The battery is probably the worst battery I've ever used in any power tool ever. It literally won't hold a charge for more than an hour or so, and doesn't hold much of a charge even when it's fully charged. But you know, your mileage may vary, but I would recommend, especially if you're younger and you're investing in tools you're going to keep for the rest of your life, buy good quality power drill because you're going to use it in all kinds of home projects over the years, and the better you get, the happier you'll be. So there's that advice.
A couple of things. First of all, bologna wood that this is made from, Polonia or whatever it's called, but I love the term bologna wood. This bologna wood is just ridiculously soft. Literally touch it with a screwdriver and you've got a dent. So make sure you invest in some wood filler, you know, plastic wood, whatever, because you're going to be using it even for your own mistakes, let alone the factory mistakes. So I'm a strong believer in measure twice, cut once. In my case, measure like 10 times and drill once. But you can see I'm starting to fit the humbucker pickups in, and because of the center cover plate that goes in, there's an extremely tight fit. So I've measured it multiple times. I finally got up the courage to drill holes to put the cover plate on. So I'm going to now dry fit the humbuckers and put the cover on and show you what it's going to look like. Don't be put off by the funky looking plastic on top of the pieces. This is protective plastic to keep things from getting scratched up. So I'm leaving them on during the assembly, and then I'll take that plastic cover sheet off everything when I put it together. Notice that I have decided to upgrade the straps with Dunlop strap locks. So here you can see the holes I've put in to put the strap locks in. So to summarize this part of the video, I'm super excited about the quality of the case, way better than I was expecting, and that's a really good thing in a kit like this. The necks, as I said, once I oiled them, they came out really well. I like the quality of these tuning knobs. Make sure to get some wood filler, you're gonna need it. And again, here's what the guitar looks like at this point in time, and more to follow soon.